What's this? Are you finally awake, human? Ah, but it does seem that you're still a bit groggy. That does tend to happen after a feeding session as intense as that one. Wait here while I fetch you some more water. There you are, human. Drink up. It will make you feel better. Again with the resistance, I see. Part of our agreement on this arrangement was that you would have the understanding that you would be able to take care of your body after our engagement. That would normally be a duty that would fall solely on you, but considering I'm part of the reason it's not functioning quite as well as it could be this morning, I am willing to help by offering you this refreshment, though it is your job to accept it. That's it, human. When you finish drinking that one, I'll get you another. At least it seems that you were able to sleep quite well after our engagement. I'm glad for that. In the past, I've had some who had a negative reaction to my venom in their sleep. So I was watching carefully to ensure that you did not have any such issues. What kind of reactions? Well, there are a couple of different varieties, as I've said, but the most common seems to be nightmares. I suppose the act of engaging so intimately with a vampire tends to be a bit against most humans' nature. Most of your kind practically grow up listening to the negative stories of me and mine. Many of them cannot picture having an interaction such as the one we shared last night on their own terms, though I do hope that it wasn't too overwhelming for you. What's that? It wasn't? Well, I'm glad for that at least. All too often there seems to be quite a factor of, well, for lack of a better term, perhaps shame is the right word. That could be what your kind feels after engaging with mine. But, as I've said before, there are some newer policies, thanks to your human government, that has shifted the attitude between humans and monsters as of late. Before those, things were quite different. Many of your kind are not old enough to remember the old days, but of course, I am. Things were quite different back then. Exchanges such as the one we shared last night were all but common, and much less criminalized than they are now. I wonder if the fact that you were able to spend time in my bar, speaking with myself and my associates for so long before engaging in feeding, that you are able to perhaps desensitize, maybe, is not the correct word. More like relax, or understand better, perhaps. I suppose I'm not sure what the best way to word it is, but I do believe that part of your ability to have such a good experience last night was because you do not criminalize monsters in the way that many other humans would. Not that I would expect you to do so. And in the time that we've known each other, you have never so much as said a foul word about my kind. I haven't mentioned it much before, but I worried at first that you were a bit of a fluke. your attitude and language a forced nicety on your part, all to be able to partake in my drinks. Though, I suppose that thought should have been thrown out, considering I still have not convinced you to try something less mundane than your simple human ales. I would offer you one now, though. With your body as it is, I'm afraid it would hit you quite a bit harder than usual, and I'm not sure how helpful that would be, considering your current state. But as I said, I suppose trying more exotic alcohols was not your goal after all. As I've spent more time with you, I found that you really are quite kind to those who are not of your same species, aren't you, little human? It is quite refreshing. Kindness towards me, or any monster for that matter, is a bit of a rarity from one of your kind these days. And not just for the reasons that you would think. Yes, I suppose it is quite exciting for me that I was able to find someone who would take me up on my offer to feed. As I said, that flyer has been waiting in my bar for many months before you stumbled across it. For a while there, I had begun to lose hope that I would ever be able to feed on a human like that again. But then in you came, a human in a monster bar, not so much as batting an eye. Well, I suppose you were a bit shy to start, but I can't exactly blame you for that now, can I? Though I suppose the shyness is not much of a detractor from your personality. On the contrary, I quite enjoy it. If I were able to be so forward, it is quite adorable, with your politeness and how easily you get flustered. Perhaps if we continue to grow our relationship, I will have more time to explore that. With your permission, of course. Have you finished your drink? Here, I have another. You've mentioned that you had a good experience in the night after feeding, but I would still want to make sure that that experience can continue. I'm not sure how much you remember about our conversation after your feeding, as the venom had taken quite a strong hold of your mind. But there was some mention of this being a more regular activity, if you are so willing. You never quite mentioned what exactly you needed the money for, but, well, there are more hateful humans than you that wouldn't turn down more, given the option. So, if you are interested, I wouldn't mind making some kind of arrangement, I suppose. Now that the first time is out of the way, it's actually quite easy to get into the rhythm of feeding again. My other human associates have informed me that the first time is often quite a bit more overwhelming than subsequent encounters. I suppose that the nervousness and the apprehension for what's going to happen goes away after a while, though I would hope that the excitement does not. Tell me, human, how was it to experience the effects of my venom last night? Was it pleasurable for you? Well, I'm happy to hear it. And for my part, our experience was quite delightful. It's not often that I can encounter a human whose blood is as sweet as yours. Ah, there's that blush again. Oh, no need to hide it, human. As I've said before, I find it quite attractive. Now, I suppose that's beside the point. But, as per usual, you've gotten me on a bit of a tangent. I'm glad that you agreed to stay the night with me, as you still seem a little shaky. Blood loss can do many things to the human body, so it's important to rest and hydrate afterward. I would apologize for the effects hurting your ability to function in daily life, but with the money I offered you, I'm sure there's not much that you really need to be doing today. Especially if we were to make this a more regular arrangement. As I've said before, some of the rumors of my kind are true. It would not be a problem for me to make sure that you were handsomely compensated. Assuming that you wanted to continue to engage with me in this manner. And if the money that I've offered you already is not enough to keep you occupied and comfortable, then perhaps we can always negotiate for more. I'm sure there's some kind of agreement that we could reach in which we would both be quite happy. But for now, what your body needs is rest. It's still learning to understand what the best way to react is after a feeding session like that. And I think for now the best thing you can offer it is some sleep. I know that you don't feel like you need it, but I can see the way that your eyes have been drooping since we first started talking. Drink the rest of your water, human, and then it's back to bed with you. When you wake, we can discuss what happens next for our next meeting. I can't wait to work it all out with you. But until then, sleep well, human.